G'day and welcome back. Today I've got something totally different. I've been asked to do a review on this digital microscope. I often get requests from companies asking me to review their products and I haven't as yet done it, but I was after a digital microscope, so they offered to give this one to me on the proviso that I did a review. So that's what I'm going to do. It's a win-win. I get a digital microscope, they get a review. It'll be fair one way or the other. I'll tell you exactly what I think of it. And you get to see what's available if you're interested in this sort of thing. The brand, the best way I can pronounce it, is Elikliv. It's a 4K digital microscope. They've sent me this model, which is an EM4K-AF Flex. There is another one that doesn't have the AF in the model number, so I'm assuming that is not autofocus. So this one's an autofocus model. Let's have a quick look inside. I have not had a look inside yet. And the first thing I see is a solder mat. I'll have a look at that later. That was in the advertising. A bit of foam there. Oh, the manual here. Nice glossy manual. Now the advertising I saw, the English was very well written, so somebody translated it into English quite well. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. Here's the screen. I don't know if I mentioned it's a screen type microscope. It's not one of the ones where you've got the eye pieces that you have to look in. There's the screen. Looks about 10 inches, I suppose. Some buttons on the, oh, there must be soft touch buttons. There's no pushing on them. Menu for the screen, power on and off. Have a look on the back. So we've got USB-A, C. Oh, it's got an SD card. And whatever that is, so HDMI. Okay, that sounds good. Alright, I'll put that aside. A couple of power cords, that's USB A to C. This one, I'm not sure what that is. HDMI, maybe, it looks like HDMI to mini HDMI, I think. I'm not sure what that is. It's got a USB on one end, and it's got pins on the other, so it must be a USB power supply. There's another one. What's that one? Ah, another USB power supply. Alright, okay. So now we've got to take this top bit off. Nope, hang on. Something else there. Oh, a remote. Is it? A remote. Okay. Now this is a light. This will be a LED light. And it's got an American plug on it. Okay. Oh no, it says it'll go to 260 volts, so 90 to 260 volts. So I just need an adapter. That's good. There's a clamp and a little Allen wrench or hex wrench. Here's the clamp to clamp it to the desk. Wow, that is hefty. Goodness me, that is huge. Very good. Very heavily made. There's the post, of course. What's this? Okay, that mounts somewhere. Alright. And there's the stand. There's a plastic stand there. And a very heavy, oh, not a stand, it's the arm, articulating arm that goes around. Yeah, okay, so it mounts on that. Very good. Okay, give me a minute, I'll try and assemble this thing. I've got rid of all the packaging, I've laid out all the parts so I can put it together. I've got the manual here and it's really good. It's a bit glossy, so it's going to reflect in the camera a bit. But I did notice there's a model with a base plate and not the arm, and that's the flex in the part number. The flex means that it's on that flexible arm. If it hasn't got flex in the part number or the model number, it has a base on it. So that was the difference between the two. So if you want one with a base, you can get it. Yeah, there's one they called it a boom arm there. So there's all the parts. Putting it together looks pretty straightforward, so I'll probably ditch these instructions. I've had a quick sort of peruse through the photos here. There's that thing I didn't quite know what it was, that bracket thing over here. So that's a micro adjustment, so you can raise and lower the camera. But it's quite well written. It's written in English. It's either been written in English or it's translated, and someone that speaks English has actually translated it. So yeah, pretty good. All right. I'm not going to show me putting it together completely. You can do that. It's not that hard. It doesn't look like. I will show some features though. As I said earlier, this bracket is pretty heavy. It has an adjustment here, so you can make that wider or narrow to suit what bench you're going to mount it to. But it's quite well made. I've tightened it up there. I could have moved it up here probably, but anyway, that'll be fine. Now I've got to mount that post on there before I mount this onto the desk. There's a little screw in the end there, and that's going to go through this hole here. There's a locating pin there to hold this. So I've got to find that. Then we screw this together. Oh, that's easy enough. And of course they give you the hex screw to do it up with. I did have to reference the manual for this part. I wasn't quite sure how this went, but that screws in there, and then you position it where you need it, and there's a lock nut goes on top, so that'll lock it where it needs to go. There's a little lock nut on the back there, and that allows you to raise and lower the camera, and the screen will go with it, and then you can lock it back up again. There's a ring there. So that just fits down there, and if I turn it around, there's two little thumb screws there that you do up, and that'll hold the camera. This LED light goes here. It's a little red line there. I guess that's to help you line it up. But that goes there. Oh dear. What I've found is if you try and mount this down on this polish bit, it won't stick there. So you've got to put it up onto this area where it's rough. It's a rough finish. Now you can still get to the buttons. That's alright. Alright, and there's the brightness control for it. There's a little switch on the side. Nice. Now, as anyone that'll tell you that doesn't read the manual, you end up with parts left over. This was supposed to go between this plate here and the shaft. So I've got to unscrew that, put that on, and that'll be done. I fitted the cover. It only took a minute or so to undo my mistake. Alright, here comes the best part. Oh yeah. She's completely naked now. I'll have to go and read the book and see how to turn her on. Power it on. As you can see, I'm set up ready to do a demonstration. Before I do, I'll turn it around. We'll have a look at the connections on the back again. Though the way I looked at this before, I didn't see the text up the top. It has 5 volt out. That's a USB out. So you put power in through this USB-C, and you can tap out for a light or whatever from the 5 volt output. That of course is the SD card. It comes with an SD card, so it's pretty good. That's HDMI of course, and I've got a TV plugged in there. Let's power it up. There we go. A little test subject there. It's a video card out of a computer. Let's have a look at these controls here. These are soft touch buttons. This is the autofocus button. If you go to manual focus, you've got minus, plus, and these are memory programs, so you can program them to retain a certain focus for a certain depth. I'll explain that a bit further in a minute. Along the bottom of the screen here, there's the menu, right, OK, left, power on and off. This is the power indicator light. It's red when there's no power applied. When you turn the screen on, it goes orange. That is a brightness control, so you can brighten or dim down the LEDs that are around the camera, the actual photo cell. Over in the left corner, it's got the battery condition. I forgot to say this actually has a battery in it. I didn't realize that. It has a battery. That's saying it's plugged in and it's charged. Over here is the SD card. It's 64 gigabytes. It's formatted to 58.2. It indicates here we're in camera mode, and it's saying we have 0 photos out of a possible 3,499. Up in the top corner here, the little camera means we're in camera mode. There's more on that a bit later. Any photos taken at the moment will be in 52 megapixels, and it's in 4K 30 frames per second. So it's currently auto-focused on here. If I was to put my hand there, it would auto-focus back again and then autofocus. Something that concerned me with this was that if you start working in here and you put soldering irons or whatever else in there, it'll continually hunt around trying to focus again, like that. But it's not a problem, because if you go to autofocus and hold it down, it changes to manual focus. I'll just lift that up for a second, autofocus on it, and it's gone back to manual focus, so it stays in focus. If I hit it again, I'll put it back where it was, it focuses again, then goes back to manual focus, and if you put something in front of it, it won't refocus, so it won't hunt up and down looking for the, keep it in focus. So that was a surprise for me. I thought I was waiting for that to happen, but it doesn't. Having said that, if you hold down the autofocus key and go back to autofocus, it probably will do that, although it's fairly stable. It doesn't try and refocus all the time, so it's not too bad at all. This has 4 display modes, I guess you call it. As I said earlier, it's in camera mode now. If you hold down OK, it'll go to record mode. So now it's in record. If I push OK, it'll record, and there it is there, it's recording. Push OK again and it stops. If you hold down OK again, it goes to this split screen thing, and you can zoom in. I'll just get something to zoom on. There we go. And you can zoom right in on it. It'll highlight that little area on the left there, and you zoom right into it. If I hold it again, it goes into freeze mode. So I think if I push that quickly, it'll take a freeze frame. There we go. So I'm moving that around. That's not moving. Hit it again and it'll come back. I think there's another one. No, it's gone back to camera mode. Yeah, I still haven't worked this out completely, but there are 4 modes. These 2 program buttons allow you to store a certain focal point. So that's focus now. If I hold down P2, it goes green P2 up the top there. Focus is saved. If I put something else there like that, autofocus it, and then save it as P1, it's now saved it. So if I take that away now, that's out of focus, but I'll push P2, and it's in focus again. Put that back, P1, and it's in focus. It doesn't have to keep refocusing. Now, I had a look at this light before. It's got a switch on the side and it lights up the subject. You can adjust the amount of light. I've got enough light in here that I don't need that. I also moved the light down. I had it mounted here on this textured surface. Down the bottom there, it's got a very smooth ring, and it's almost a bit tapered, and it wouldn't stick there, but if it's mounted up here, it got in the way of this button. So I've put a little bit of tape there, screwed it on, and it's quite solid now. Back to the screen. It's out of focus now. If I push P2, it'll automatically focus back. Fantastic. You can raise and lower the screen. There's a little lock knob there, and then you can turn this up and down, and that moves the screen up and down. There's quite an in-depth menu. It comes up the top corner there, arrows back and forth, OK. That exits that first one. The next one is record. So if you push OK, it'll show you what you've recorded, and there it is. I've only got one of one, and that was a still photo, so no good playing that. So go back. I think I pushed that, and there we go. And you can go back to the file, push OK, and arrow down, and I can delete, push OK, arrow over, delete all, OK, and there's no files left. So the next one is the camera color settings. Auto exposure, you can adjust the image brightness, white balance, autofocus. I've got it on manual at the moment, and that's changed by that autofocus button on the front there. You can have color, black and white, negative. It's also got WDR on the end there, which tries to balance darks and lights. So if I push menu, I'll get out again. What was the next one? Settings. There's the shortcut when you push and hold down the OK button. It goes photo, video, split, and freeze. So it's set to photo as the default now. So you could actually set it up as one of the others, but on photo. There you can change the resolution of the photo, 13 megapixel to 52. There's the 4K output, LCD brightness, auto off, language, date time default. This one's interesting. You can put a cursor on the screen. I'm not sure why you want to do that, but you can. Let's have a look. We'll put it on. We'll put a ruler on. There we go. Get rid of menu, and it's put a ruler on it. Once again, I'm not sure why you would need that. I don't think I've got a use for it, but it's there if you need to use it. You can put an index line in there if you want to, for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. I'll put that on so you can see it, and that'll bring up a whole load of where you want it, width, color, vertical, horizontal. Like I said, I have no use for that, I don't think. Overall, I reckon it works pretty good. Let's do a few practical tests. Something that I can use this for is these little IF transformers, and these wires break, they corrode up here. But that certainly brings them up so I can see them, that's good. Now these are pretty thick wires. Actually, a lot of these have such fine wires on the coils in the back here. Where are we? Here. These wires in here are very fine. You can see where they've connected it on there, how fine the wires are. Before I go any further, I'm going to plug this into my computer, and I can capture the image straight from the camera. So I'll remove it from the power pack and I'll plug it straight into the front of the PC. I'll push autofocus, and you can see it there on the screen. There it is. So it came up straight away in my editing software. Let's have a look at the stylus on this cartridge. Once again, autofocus it. There's the tip, looks alright. I'll turn the cartridge over. I think that's the sapphire tip. It's worn out. Look, it's flat on the top. So there's one use for my microscope. I can never see these. I'll have another look at this IF transformer, and you can see the wire there. This is the view recording directly into the PC. I'll try a practical example. Here's a little board that I'm going to make up. This is from Manuel Caldera. He has designed a little board to drop the voltage when you replace the Selenium rectifier in a valve radio, a tube radio. Let's have a go at this one. I'll put some heat on it. It's a bit hard to get used to, I got to say. There's one. It's easier to see, but I think I need practice on learning to look in the screen and not down at the project itself. I'll try this bottom one here. It's hard to know where you are. Not that you wouldn't get used to it, surgeons do this all the time. Look at that, nice. I'm using the tiny little soldering iron that Blitz sent me. So already I'm getting the swing of it. Just checking my handiwork, and they all look pretty good. Yeah, they look pretty good. Now, when I went around and finished off a few other solders, I actually got quite used to using it. Push autofocus, solder, move around, push autofocus, solder, and it's quite easy to do. So yeah, I'm happy with that. That's the top of Manuel's little project. It's got the little diodes there to replace the selenium. It's got a little trimmer there so you can adjust the voltage, and there's the MOSFET over there. Quite simple. I'll put a link in the description to his video, so you go and have a look if you want. And I'm going to try this in a radio I'm working on now. So once this video is finished, I'm going to stick this in a radio. Now, something I didn't show was the remote control. There it is there. It's got all the same buttons that are on the front of the monitor here. And there's take a photo and record, menu. So it does exactly the same as the buttons up here. As I said earlier, I've also got it on a TV here. This is not a 4K TV. If it was, it would show it in 4K. That's high definition only. But if I move this around, there we go. You can see it moving. So once you get used to using it, it all works. It all gels. And there we go. You can see that. So if you had a classroom or something, or you can just use the big monitor if you want to and not watch this one at all, it'll be fantastic. If you don't want to record straight to the PC, this is portable. It has its own battery. So you can record to the SD card, plug it into your PC when you get home, and if you push OK, it will come up with the files. There it is there. And push OK again, it'll shut that, and we're back to recording. On that note, I'll tidy up here and I'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. So, do I think it's worth it? I think it is. For me, I think it works fine. For the price point, I reckon it's pretty good. And it did everything I wanted. I really like the autofocus, go back to manual and it locks it in. That was something that really concerned me with using these, that it was just going to hunt up and down. This one is fantastic. It just locks it in and you're set. If you move something, you just hit it again and it does it all again. It's really good. I struggled a little bit when I started soldering with this. I didn't quite know where I was, but after I did maybe half a dozen, I was picking it up pretty quick. So I don't think that's an issue if you're going to use one of these. That's going to happen on any of these types of microscope. The picture in here is very clear. I can see that easily. The picture on the TV is equally as good, and I can record to my recording device, which is what I needed. Structurally, it's pretty good. It's pretty solid. It doesn't wobble around. The stand's nice and solid. The clamp on the bottom's good. And you also get this little silicon solder mat as well, which you can put your parts in there to keep them from rolling around. They gave me two of these power adapters and I couldn't work it out for a minute, but one's an American one and this one's for the Aussie plugs. This microscope's the flex model. It doesn't have a base. It clamps to the bench as we saw. This suits me fine. I have seen the same brand on the internet with the base on it, but I wanted one without the base, and I can put whatever I like under it. I don't have to worry about setting it on a base. I can stick it on the bench and just swing this over and I can get a close-up view of what I need to look at. When I'm finished with it, I'll just swing it to the side and it's ready for next time. So to finish up, at the price point, I'd probably give it 9 out of 10. I don't give anything 10, so it has to settle for 9, but really I couldn't find any major deficiencies. It works well. It does what it's designed to do. It's a reasonably good price and it's well made. I will put a link in the description for Amazon in America, and anyone over in the US can click on that and then they can buy it from there. I hope this was helpful. I tried to cover as much as I possibly could in the shortest possible time, and I hope you get something out of it. I got something. I got a free microscope. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.